I'm Sarah Knight, and welcome to It's Got Pockets, where just like finding the surprise pockets in your favourite trousers, I'm bringing you perfect pockets of joy and realness. Every week, I'm having unfiltered conversations with women who crack the feck on, even when life gets proper lifey. Women with experience, expertise and wisdom. Because sometimes the best stories start in the middle. Women who've been there, done that, and they're still figuring it out. Join me for real talk, useful tactics, and all the swears in between that make your life and business feel that bit more manageable. Well, hello. It's Got Pockets time, and I'm with the lovely, fabulous Kate Richardson-Walsh. I'm a little bit of a fan of Kate. You know this because I've told you this before. I've been lucky enough to work with Kate before, and she has so many stories, hints, tips, frameworks, ways of looking at the world that I really wanted to get her on to be my very first guest on It's Got Pockets. I mean, are you feeling a little bit like special now?
I'm very honoured. I'm very honoured. And it's always good to chat to you because, you know, you make me think, you get me curious. And I think, you know, you've got that energy that's just so infectious. So I'm excited.
Oh, well, it's all about, I've not planned very much at all because, you know, who needs a plan when we've got a conversation going on? And that's the point, is a little bit of an unfiltered conversation. But for those people that do not know, I mean, who doesn't know, but our Kate, because, you know, we know our Kate is an Olympic gold and bronze medalist, over 370 caps. I mean, I think you did that whilst I was still doing a few drugs down the hacienda. Captained England hockey from 2003 to 2016. Ambassador for Women's Sports Trust. Got a little girl, moved house, juggling, managing, navigating. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was I wanted to talk to you about how you manage. How do you do it all? But let's start right back at the beginning, because you told me that you became the leader of the team when you were 23. Talk to me about that.
God, yeah, it's a long time ago. It was unexpected. I think that's why it was a surprise. It was a bit of a shock. I suppose I'd captained and been vice captain when I was, you know, in the under 16s, under 18s, under 21s, and then, but I was in the seniors and I was playing with, you know, players who were 10 years plus older than me and 10 years plus more experienced than me. And I didn't really have any aspirations to be a captain. But we did a vote as a team and we were voting for co-captains actually. And then the coach at the time, Trisha Heberley, she went out to kind of count the votes. And she came back in and she said, oh, there's an overwhelming vote for one person. So actually I'm going to scrap the co-captains and we're just going to go with the captain. And I was like looking around going, oh, who's it going to be? So it's going to be Kate. And I just remember I probably went bright red because in those days I was shy. I hated speaking, even just a one-on-one conversation. And I don't know what it would be, but something would kick me off and I'd blush and then I'd get really embarrassed because I could see that you'd see me blushing. And I probably went bright red in the middle of this room. And I genuinely was so proud, but also terrified.
Why were you terrified?
I think because I thought it wasn't for me. I think up until probably that coach that we had at that time, Trisha Heberley, up until that point, all the leaders, not all the leaders, that's unfair, the majority of leaders that I'd had, whether it was teachers or coaches or, you know, whatever, were very authoritative, very autocratic. You know, I looked up to them and thought, wow, you know, they've got all the answers. You know, they always know what to say. They're commanding, they've got a big voice, they're loud. And I thought, well, I don't have all those things. I certainly don't have all the answers. I definitely don't have a loud voice. Off the field, on the field I did. Off the field, like, I you know, is this really for me? And so I think that was why I was terrified, because I was like, a part of me knew I could do it because I had been doing it, but this was like a big step up. And, you know, could I, should I, you know, I think there were just lots of questions, which is natural, you know, when you put out of your comfort zone, it feels scary.
Did you ever think about saying no?
No, and I think that's why I knew, and I do know deep down, I was confident in the reasons why I think they'd voted me in. But I think at that time they'd voted me in because on the field and in training, I would never ask any more of anyone what I'd already asked of myself. And I was prepared to push people hard, but only because I pushed myself that hard first. And I was demanding of people and of standards of my own. And then I think I was on the field, just a complete geek of the game. I loved it, complete student of the game. And I could see things and change things, and I understood it, and I could communicate that in the moment live. So I think there were lots of like technical skills, I suppose, that I had, but it was some of those softer skills which I learned over the period of my, 13, 14-year captaincy, which became my super strength, but which I didn't really knew that I had or knew that I needed at the beginning.
So I want to come back to that super strengths because I think that's really interesting. But did you always want to play hockey? Was it like, were you driven? Is it like, you woke up and you went, boom, this is what I always want to do?
No, I mean, my mum will always laugh because we grew up, we watched my dad play cricket in the summer, then we watched my mum play hockey in the winter. And because it was in the winter and it was freezing cold, Didsbury, getting battered by the rain on the side of the pitch. And, I remember saying, I don't want to play hockey. I never want to play hockey. It's boring. And I didn't start playing until I went to secondary school. So I was like 11 or 12. I had this PE teacher, Mrs. Kinder, who was had your levels of energy and, enthusiasm and passion. And that is like a magnet. And she just wanted girls to play sport. She didn't care to what level. She just wanted to get girls playing sport, and I was completely attracted to that. And then hockey was the first team sport that I played, and I loved it. And I developed quite quickly, but it wasn't until I kind of had a bit of little success. I got picked for England 16s, and then the year when I maybe should have been selected for England 16s, when I was the right age, I got dropped. So I would have been, 14, 15, probably would have been 15. And, 15's hard enough, isn't it? There's so much going on in your body, in your mind, in life, in the world. And it hit me really hard. And my parents were amazing at that time. And they really supported me. That summer, I remember, of like me trying to find out what it is I wanted to do about it, essentially, with this like event that had happened in my life. And it ultimately didn't matter what my coaches wanted or they wanted or anybody else. They really helped me turn in and start answering some of those questions for myself. Because I was a rat bag at this point. I was eating a packet of cookies every night, watching Neighbours, hated running. I was going down the park on the Friday nights that I'd out with my mates drinking, 2-litre bottles of cider. Like I was a pain and it was a bit adrift, to be honest. And this just gave me that, right. I didn't ever think I wanted to be an Olympian. I didn't ever think I wanted to be an Olympic medalist. I just wanted to be the best hockey player that could be. And every choice and decision I had to make from that point on was going to feed that. College I went to, friends I hung around with or didn't, club I went to join, everything that I did was in pursuit of that.
It's funny, isn't it? Because one of the things that I've always said to the kids is it's just about having a choice. Like I don't care what you do, although they were never allowed to be a traffic warden, just to be clear on that. Apologies to any traffic wardens out there. I'm sure you're all beautiful humans, but seriously, stop it. But equally, I just said, well, you're doing this for a choice. You're doing this so you can make a choice on what you do next, because that's why I asked you the question, because who at 15 knows that actually, and I'm sure there are people out there that are really that driven, but the majority of people, do you know what you want to be at? God, at 15, I was like under a park bench with 2 litres of woodpecker cider, wondering if Stephen Furlong could kiss me. I'm really sorry if he's listening now, because he did, so it's all right. Winning at 15.
No, I mean, I think I wanted to be Lauryn Hill.
But I went to a concert with her, and obviously when I'm a global superstar, I shouldn't be talking about these things, but she was so late on stage.
Oh, I know. But when I was 15, I wouldn't have done anything to sound like her. Not like, I mean, I was just, I wanted to fit in so badly that I was completely adrift, and I was just following the crowd, and I wanted to fit in because I hadn't fitted in at a primary school. Like, I looked different to everybody else. I was doing loads of gymnastics and loads of swimming, and I've got a body type that puts muscle on really easily. I cut my fringe off, so I had spikes. I had a mullet. I just didn't look like the rest of the girls in school, and so got attracted, negative attention because of it. And after that, I just like, right, whatever it takes to fit in, I'll do. And which, maybe made some really bad choices, to be honest.
But do you not think that's such a massive thing of everything that we go through, especially as women as well? I'm gonna call it out. Is that need to fit in, and we do that thing because it's like, oh, that's what happens. I was just talking to someone before about even in the workplace. You go in and it's like, oh, they look like they're nailing it. I'm gonna be like that person without that. Oh, I'm just gonna own who I am and own who I am going forward. And I guess that was a big part of then being a captain at 23. Was 23, wasn't it? Is that, actually you had to own who you were. Did you know at that point?
Oh my God, no. No, and I think the point is you're always learning about yourself because we kind of change and we grow and we adapt. But I think what it did do, which was the best thing ever, was it made me start asking the question, who am I? Who do I want to be? What are my values? Like, what do I care about? How am I going to do this thing well in my way? And maybe without that, I don't know if I would have asked myself the same questions in the same way. So, I mean, it was brilliant because it really did start me looking inwards and going, what do I want? What do I like? And I think, now Helen and I parenting a little girl, I think we are really conscious of her, even at 5, just thinking, what do you like? What do you not like? And I think one of the teachers said yesterday, Helen came home from pickup and said, one of the teachers said she's very stoic. And I was like, get in.
Yeah, I'm winning. And also, that's quite a strange word to use. I'm not sure, like, stoic. I'm like,
I'm not like,
who describes a child as stoic? I'm like,
bye.
Bye.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But I was like, brilliant, because that means she's sure of herself and she's sure of her just choices and her decisions. And I think because she's had to think about it, and that's all I really hope for is that she gets the opportunity.
Yeah, and also that thing of going, do you know what? This is something to be, celebrated. You know what you want. I mean, I know it's a massive pain in the arse when they know they don't want to go to bed and you're like, seriously, it's time to put your jammies on now and get in there before I become a really shouty mum. My best shouty mum story is I was a single mum for a lot of years and I used to live in a semi-detached and then the house next door wasn't actually attached to me. And there was one particular occasion when the kids were probably about, I don't know, say 5 and 9 or something like that. And they were being little knobs and they weren't going to bed and I had zero patience at bedtime. Oh. And anyway, I must have screamed up the stairs, get in bed, clean your tea and shut your curtains. And my neighbour next door, who I love dearly, texted me. I think the windows must have been open and she went, well, fucking hell, Sarah, I'm in bed with my teeth cleaned.
Leadership right there, look at that.
Leadership, winning at parenting, command and control, how not to do it. So you became captain. How did it go?
Not well. In terms of like team performance. Oh no, it started off all right, but then it would be basically in 2004, we were trying to qualify for the Athens Olympics in that summer. And we went into the qualifying tournament ranked number 1 team. On paper, should have breezed it, and we didn't qualify. I think top 5 qualified. I think we finished 7th, and it was utterly devastating. Obviously for us as a team, but also some of the women in that team, I knew that was the last time they'd ever put on their shit. I remember having to literally like help some of them off the field.
Oh gosh,
it was a lot. But also I knew as a sport that was going to really cost us because we didn't really have much fun. We were all working or studying at that time. And I knew any funding that we were getting was probably going to go, and it did. We lost 70% of our funding after.
Wow. And that's the thing that I've only realised recently about sport is if you're winning in sport, then you get more funding. But if you're not winning, you don't get the funding. It's like, I don't understand that.
No, it's, I mean, it's hard. There's only so much money to go around. But I do wonder whether there is a more balanced way of making sure we're getting what we need to get out of the athletes, the sports, but also for society. Like, are we doing enough there? But I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. So yeah, it didn't start well, to be honest. And then we had a new coach come in, Danny Kerry, who was basically led us to that bronze in London 2012, and then eventually the gold in Rio in 2016. And I mean, that was like a roller coaster. It was not a smooth trajectory at all. But what I learned about myself and myself as a leader in that time was amazing.
What were the key things that you took away? What's the key learning?
Big one for me was the kind of broad thing would be like, what is your super strength as a leader, and tune in to that. And so for me, I found that my emotions, is one of my greatest super strengths as a leader, which in the beginning of my captaincy, it was kind of told to, lock that up, because that's a bad thing. Leaders aren't emotional. We just glide through life. No one's gonna, everyone wants to see you just not being affected by anything. And actually I had, the women, my teammates, the women that I was surrounded by, were the best feedback tool ever, because they were honest. They were so honest with me, and some of that was brutal, and a lot of it was hard. But some of them would just be like, when you shout at me like that, I know your intentions are good, but this is what impact it's having on me. This is how it makes me feel. This is then what happens to how I play. And it's a kicker, because you're like, oh God, I just want to help you, and actually I'm making you suffer. But some of that feedback was brilliant. And so actually me tuning into like my emotions, how I'm feeling about things, help me connect to people on a much deeper level. They could see that I was experiencing things like a human being and not like a robot. And that I could sit with them and empathize with them. How are they experiencing this? And my ability to I used, I think, I can't remember who, an NFL coach called it taking the temperature in the room. And I love it, because it's that emotional energy that teams have. And I was able to, in the end, really feel that and sense that and know exactly what we needed to do to help us get into the right spot. And so it did become my super strength. And I have to monitor my emotions, because they are very quick to get wildly out of control. Like on the hockey pitch for me would be anger. I would go massively into anger, which anger's great as a woman. We need to tap into it more, but sometimes it can be unhelpful, and it can help us lose focus, and it can impact the people that we're interacting with. And so I just needed to be really conscious of, managing them, but also using them and tuning into them and feeling things. Like, I'm so good at hiding myself away and not feeling things, like just compartmentalizing everything and not experiencing the moment for what it was, whatever it was making me feel. And I think I lost out on lots of growth because of that.
But it is an intuitive thing, because it's not at that time. I'm sort of assuming that you weren't reading loads of books, and you didn't, did you have people teaching you that? Because, that whole locking away your emotions, again, is sort of how you're taught to be a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also am going to use that line that anger is really good emotion next time I'm screaming at everyone in the house for doing something. So, taking that way, I'm going to say, well, Kate Richardson-Walsh said anger's a good thing, so you can all do one. And but was it intuitive? Was that learning intuitive, or was it,
I think I'm going to get some feeling like therapy now, isn't it? But I do think it's, it's how I was brought up a little bit. I think because of how my parents were raised by their generation of parents was, you don't cry, get up, get on with it, pick yourself up, go again. And, don't sit in there and don't feel the feelings. And maybe now, some might argue we've gone too far down the other end of the spectrum, but I think there's probably somewhere a nice sweet spot in there where you feel whatever the feeling is in that moment, and then you understand and you can start to appreciate why you're feeling that way. Like, why am I angry about this? Well, I'm angry about this because I really care. Like, you've touched my value, or you've done this to me, or I've done that, and that's made me feel that feeling. And then you can start to process what you might want to do about it. So I do think they're really healthy. But at the time, for me, it was books.
Yeah.
Just reading loads of books. And unfortunately, because of the way sport has been and still is a little bit, is very male dominated. They were mostly male coaches and male athletes who then gone into coaching, which were brilliant and really helpful. But I would have loved to have had some more female role models to be able to have asked questions of and speak to.
Yeah. And is that one of your passions now? Is that where that's like, this is what I'm gifting future generations?
I love it. And, I'm a keynote speaker and a motivational speaker. That's mostly my bread and butter. But and I speak to mixed audiences, but I find it really interesting when I go into those rooms when it's, still 85% male, and you get the kind of handful of women that are dotted around their room coming out of house to say, you're so nice to have a woman on the stage. You're like, is 2025 like what?
I know. How are we still having these conversations?
We're definitely still there, and in some industry, in some sectors, in some roles, and at some levels, we're definitely still there, and that's why we just need to keep putting people out there, lifting women up into those positions, and giving them that opportunity to show them what they can do, because women can do it. Of course we can.
Yeah, and give ourselves permission to do it. I think that's one of the biggest things, isn't it? Is that actually we seek permission and validation from every other bugger around, and it's like, hang on a second, like we've got to do this for ourselves.
So I had it was quite a career coach once, and she just, and just those people just ask the most beautiful questions, and she just said, I was talking about, whether I should go into hockey coaching or not. There's like one or two female hockey coaches on the world circuit, and she was like, okay, stop. If all the coaches in the world dropped dead tomorrow and you had to go and do that job, could you do it? And she was like, could you do it? And I was like, yeah, I could do it. She's like, right then. Like, you're like, yes.
Who are you for telling me what I already knew and making me look in the mirror?
I was so quick to go, oh, but I haven't done those courses and I haven't got that qualification. And, it's just nonsense. Like, do it.
I read something, and I'd like to make up stats, but there's something around this as well, is that when women are going for a job compared to when men are going for a job, a man will look at it and go, oh, there's 10 points on there. I'm going to do 6 of them. Boom, I'm going for it. A women will look at the job and go, oh, I can do 9 out of those 10 points, and go, oh, shit, I can't do that 1 point. I'll probably not do it then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that, to have the confidence of the mediocre white man. That is that, it's that. Just to be able to be confident in our own abilities. And that's why super strength, we just touched earlier, is so wonderful, because it really tunes into that.
So how does that play out on the field when you're playing hockey? If you're looking at that sort of, that masculine energy, shall we call it, versus female energy, how does it work out? I'm sort of thinking that you've got the beauty of collaboration and teamwork, which is supercharged. But then did you notice that there was still people sense checking themselves or questioning themselves? Or was there ever that?
Oh, God, all the time. I personally don't feel that's a female thing. And I'm really fascinated by this. And I would love to coach a men's team. I've been trained alongside the men's team. And, some of them were partners with the women's team, and I used to date one of the men's players like years ago. Like, I know that they have fears. I know that they have doubts. I know that they are self-critical. I know in the same way that women are, they might express it in a different way. They might not find it all. And in fact, they might cover that up with bravado. And actually, some of that confidence we see in some of those boys and men, I think, comes from a shielding insecurity, fear, and doubt. So we had it, absolutely. I had it, moments where I was in really doubting myself. I can't do this anymore. I'm in a really bad spell of form, and not feeling like we'll get out of it. And all my teammates experienced it from time to time. And it could in a session, a 2-hour hockey session on the field, you could see people going through the peaks and troughs and experiencing it yourself. And the other side, the aggressive, autocratic, directional, hard, direct feedback, like all of that all happen at the same time.
So how do you do that? How do you manage that? Because that's a real key mindset piece, isn't it? Because, if I'm having a shit day at work and I can't be bothered performing, ultimately the only person I can sack is myself, and I have had to do that a few times. I've been through a number of disciplinaries, and on performance development plans. But how do you do that when you're playing at that level and you're not feeling it?
So having tools like our psychologist, we had two wonderful psychologists at the end of my career, Tom Cross and Andrew First, and they just really gave us some really good tools to use to help us tune into what does it look like. First of all, like, do we know what a good day looks like for us in terms of the clothes we wear, our body language, our tone of voice, like everything that we do and everything that we are when we're experiencing a really good day? Do we know what that is? Because unless we know what that is, we can't even attempt to recreate it, firstly. That was really important. And being able to allow it to say, this is me on a good day, which feels a bit cringy for us. And then it got to really then look at, okay, but what's the flip side of that? Like when you're doing a bad day, again, what does that look and sound and feel like inside, externally? What do people see? And it was really hard work. Like that honesty, that level of honesty with yourself is really hard. First thing that came to my mind when I just said bad day was, my eyes are down. I'm not making eye contact with you. I'm so cold. I will, I've completely withdrawn myself in every way, shape, or form from you. And I know that's horrible to interact with me when I'm like that. You can't interact with me when I'm like that. And that therefore impacts our relationship. And in a team environment, that's going to impact team performance. And so knowing all this stuff about myself, I can start put things in place. If I notice it, if I can be mindful enough to notice it, what do I need to do? So like I would always try and do a head to toe, like scan before I think I'm going to go and train, or now if I'm a coach in a session and I'm walking from the car and I'm like, right, where's my energy at? Have I got my hood up? Am I hunkered? Are my shoulders over? Like, am I standing up? Make sure the first person I meet, I look them in the eye and say, hi, how you doing? Have some physical contact with them, and they need that from me. And really think about where I am mentally, physically, emotionally, where they need me to be, and try and not be a robot, but try and be there as much as I can and put things in place to help me do that. Because we'll all have triggers that will absolutely set us off. Like if I don't drink enough water, eat decent food, look after my body, move my body in some way, have good, like positive self-affirmations. Like if I'm not doing those things, it can spiral blooming quickly for me. And it's hard to get myself out of that kind of negative spiral. So doing that reflection work and putting things in place to help you recreate good days, as many good days as possible, will help us be resilient. We can't not ever have a bad day. We're going to have them. But it stops the bad days from really spiraling out of control and becoming like a bad week and a bad month.
And what's the thing that you do if you're having a bad day? What's the first thing that you do to go, right, okay, what can I do about today?
Well, normally I'll probably talk to my wife because, you can probably feel it. Lots of us we wake up for who knows what reason.
I know.
I'm in the perimenopause for everything right now.
And for the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's
possibly life.
Everything. And so, I'll wait and I'll just say, oh, she might say to me, I might say to her, oh, God, don't know what's happening, but I'm struggling. I don't know what's happening mentally. I feel low, energy's low, like I'm not feeling good. And just me saying that out loud and her receiving it without any judgment, of just going, okay, what have you got today? Like, what do you need? What are the most important things? And for me then to just start thinking like, right, what can I do? Right, drink a full glass of water now. Like maybe don't have as many coffees today. Like make sure your breakfast is good. Can I move my body at some point, whether it's walking to the station or like whatever it might be, just like feel like I'm in control of some things here and go for the small wins.
Yeah.
Like really celebrate the smallest of things, which might seem insignificant and inconsequential, but if you can just start like having some ticks in the box of, right, you've achieved that, you've accomplished that, well done. Like, well done. And if it's really bad, just freaking making it through the day, well done. Like you've made it through the day. Look after yourself. Like sometimes that's what it needs. That's what we need. And I think to be able to have in a relationship, the person who you're with or best friend or a sibling or in a team environment, we have that in a team environment, like, and not with everyone, But there's definitely certain players who I could just look at and they know.
Yeah.
They eyeball me and they'd know and it'd be like, right, I got you.
Yeah.
That's things I miss, I have to say.
Yeah, that having the people in the room that get you, you can't beat it, can you? And then also knowing there's people in the room who won't get you, you know, that equally it's the same thing. You know, you walk in and you know, I'm like, oh, well, you're not laughing at my fucking joke. That was really funny. Someone else laughed at that. Oh, well, you're off my Christmas card list if I ever wrote Christmas cards.
Yeah. And the people pleaser in me, like, is, you know, I'm wounded. Please everyone.
And you said something about the perimenopause then, which is like, you know, let's just talk about that on another 45 podcasts. But what sort of piqued my interest is hormones and women and sport. Yeah. I've got about 17 things I need to ask you, and I'm conscious of time, but I do want to ask you about hormones and women and sport. How does that play out? Because that's tricky.
Yeah, it's really tricky. And to be honest, we didn't talk about it until really late on in my career, the last 2 Olympic cycles. And that's because probably we had more time together, more funding and better practitioners. And it was tricky. It was trickier for some than others. Before London, we had our testosterone measured as well, which I think would have been really interesting for our strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
We're all so different. And our hormone levels are so different, and they are changing all the time. And you know, we didn't have the funds or the resource to like really tune into that as individual people and say, right, this program is going to fit you perfectly, because my hormones affect how my tendons and ligaments and muscles are functioning. It affects my brain function. You know, it's affecting me physically potentially, and all of that really matters when you're looking at those tiny little 1%. It really matters. And I think in a team sport, you can probably just about get away with it, looking more broadly and more generic. But I think for individual athletes, and I think more science, more research needs to go into this area ultimately.
Yeah, massive. Because you just think that I just realised I had an itchy ear there, and I've got headphones on, and I was like, oh, I can't actually itch me because I'm wearing headphones. Okay, well done, Sarah, nailing today. The whole sort of that science and the research, we're still at the very beginning, aren't we? You know, there's just not enough there about, you know, when we think about how far we've come about female leaders, about going in and doing all these things, but there's so much stuff that still isn't done.
No, I mean, it's that Invisible Women by Caroline Creative Perez. I mean, I wanted to throw that book across the room about 40 times because every time I read one of the stories or, you know, one of the facts that she was laying out about why seatbelts are made like this and why they don't protect women, I'm like throwing the book across the room, like, why? What? You know, why? And it's the same when, and I get frustrated in sport when people love to get into conversations about testosterone levels and female athletes, and it's like, you don't know. We don't know. The world doesn't know because there's barely any research on it. So first of all, shall we start there? Let's do loads of research on elite female athletes and let's see, honestly, because I think what we perceive to be the norms for females in terms of testosterone levels particularly is probably well out. So let's do some research and find out rather than just banding around random violent facts on social media.
Yeah, and just and then it becomes truth. But let's not go down that. Let's not go down that ability to do those things. So owning who you are.
Yeah.
Do you know who you are now? Is it like how have you shown up? Was there an age? Was it a time of your life? Was it a career accomplishment?
I think the start of my relationship with Helen, I think, was really transformative because I'd only been with guys before that, and I think there was something there which was like, okay, this is me. It felt so obvious and comfortable and normal and easy for me. I think externally everyone was like, what the hell is going on here? But like for me, it felt like, okay, this is who I am. Great. But no, I think it happens all the time. Like I had my haircut shorter last week.
I love it, by the way. It's looking gorgeous.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And I wanted to do it. And I had it cut really short previously in 2011, 2012. And I was really, there's a picture of me, really muscly, very short hair in Argentina in 2011. And the image really like oh, it's really jarring for me because it was like, what does that say about me? What are people saying about me? Do I like it? Don't I like it? And it's taken me this long to come to terms with the fact that I really want to cut my hair short. And ultimately, I don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. I want to do it and I feel comfortable expressing myself in this way. And so I think I'm always doing it. I think I'm always being curious, being reflective, like changing and growing.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I was thinking that. I mean, obviously, I've got quite long hair, but my hair was really long down here. And I had my hair cut. And one of the things that I went into the hairdressers with, I was like, if I start cutting my hair now and I'm 52, does that mean that like I'm going to be a blue rinse next year? And I was getting really aggy with myself about it because I was like looking at all these amazing humans with fabulously short hair looking brilliantly sexy, and I'm going, yeah, but that might mean then I'm going to look like older than I am, and then people are going to think I'm an old person, and then I'm going to have a blue rinse, and then no one's ever going to employ me again, and then I might as well just put like my nana slippers on and just give up. And it was just like, and that's just from thinking I'm going to cut 2 inches off my hair. So, you know, it's no wonder we have to work really hard on our mindsets.
I know. And also being gay and having short hair, there's such a negative connotation that's it's historical about being a lesbian with short hair and what it says about you. And again, who cares?
Yeah.
Say that. Do what you need to do. Say what you need to say. I'll take it. Like, fine. Do what you need to do. Yeah.
And that's that old saying of, or is it an old saying, but their behaviour is a reflection on them. Your response is a reflection on you, you know, how you choose to move forward with it. Izzy, my daughter, and she's going to kill me for all this overshare and it's going to go on. But, you know, revenge of the parents is here. But when she was at high school and she didn't like wearing girls' clothes at all. And she often looks back and she goes, why did you let me wear that? And I went, well, you were very stoic, darling. And, you know, there's no chance of getting her in anything. She was like in all the boys' clothes, loving it. And I was not one of those mums that put pink bows in kids' hair. And mainly because I couldn't be arsed. And if they were in a baby grow, they could stay there all day. And but when she went to high school and she decided she was going to wear a skirt in high school, so conforming. And she was a real tomboy and loads of sports. She's a sports coach now. And the kids used to call her nutrient, because she didn't have enough nutrients to be a full female. And even in, I know, I can see Faith, even in her 5th year book where, they all sign it, it's supposed to be beautiful messages, even in that book, some little shit had drawn a picture of a penis with stuff coming out at the end of it going, "To nutrient, it's been great knowing you." And I'm like, oh, and the thing is that it absolutely fried my bones and I wanted to go and kill various people and I would have done jail time for it. But do you know what? It didn't fucking bother Izzy, Kate. She was just like, and I really admire that about her because she genuinely does not give a shit about what other people think like that. And I just think more of that because I do. I'm terrible. I'm like, oh, what? You said you don't like blue silk shirts, so I'm never going to wear that again then. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, I am because it's recent, it's expensive, so I'm going to fucking wear it until it falls off me. But, it's that thing, isn't it, of like the slightest thing can send you, going back to what you were saying about how we can show up and what we can do in our mindset, the slightest thing could tip us into a bad day. And it's only the power of unpicking it that allows us to give us the evidence to go, right, okay, this is what I can do differently. This is what I can move forward.
Yeah. And I think that's my biggest thing for everybody right now. But, let's say women in particular, I think who are percentage-wise more time poor because they're juggling more things, more responsibilities. And it's, how do you find just little moments of reflection? Say that you're not going to carve out half an hour probably, or, but can, like at the end of a meeting, can you have 2 minutes before you log on to the next one just to be like, how did that go? Where was I? Did I get everything that I needed to? Like, what have I got now? Where did my energy need to be for this meeting? Just those little moments, because that's when we start to like keep the receipts. That's when we start like putting those in our back pocket and being like, yes, that last week I was feeling terrible, but I did X, Y, and Z, and I managed to get some good wins that day. So that helps me be resilient next time.
I bloody love that. Keep the receipts. Put them in your back pocket. Love it. Those moments of reflection are so important. And you're right. We just don't do it enough. We just don't give ourselves enough time just to go, I'm just going to sit here and just think. So what does success, given you're an Olympic champion, and given the fact that you're the most capped British female player, they all sound like, tick, 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 tick. What does success look like for you?
I think creating environments or helping be part of environments where people can thrive and be the best version of themselves. And that includes me. So whether that's in the family environment where, I want Helen to fly, I want to see Fiver fly, like, what can I do to support them and nurture them? And at the same time, because it can't be I'm always giving all them my energy and I'm not looking, I have to also thrive. So, and that just as important, particularly as a role model to a daughter is, I need to show that I'm prepared to do X, Y, and Z and take myself out of my comfort zone, do scary things to achieve what I want to achieve. So, and whether it could be in a work environment, family, but wherever it is, wherever I pitch up, wherever I find myself, wherever the wind, blows me out, it'll be that. For me, that's that. If I'm doing that, I feel like I'm doing well.
And that's the thing that I really notice is when I'm asking more and more people, what does success look like? We talk about what it feels like. It's about the feeling, isn't it? It's not about anything else, and I'm saying that as a privileged woman, as like knowing that, success isn't, I can afford to go to Aldi this week.
Yeah.
But equally, it's a feeling. And I think that's something else that we've not acknowledged. So my final question, which I'm asking all my guests, is your 6-word memoir.
Yeah.
So the 6-word memoir dates back to Ernest Hemingway, where he came up with the shortest story ever told. And I use it a lot in training and teaching. And you might use it as a mantra, or it might be the legacy that you want to lead, or it might be something else. What's your 6-word memoir?
Well, my gym session this morning was basically me just throwing that 6-word. And eventually I had to pause my workout and getting my notes because it came to me. And it's kind of what I've just said about what my goal is, but whittled down into 6 words. So it was best me, best you, best us. So if I can be the best version of myself, I can help you be the best version of yourself. We can be, again, family, team, community, society. Like, we can be better. If I'm doing my best, I'm helping you do your best. We can do our best. And we is everyone.
Oh my God, that's fucking amazing. That's the power of a gym workout.
Thanks,
Pete. There you go. It's like, mic drop. If only you had a mic like me.
I'm not professional as you, yeah.
Not like me, my friend, with my mic and everything. Nailing podcasting.
Amateur hour here.
Kate, thank you so much. It's been bloody amazing, and I could talk to you for sodding hours. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and being my wonderful first guest to launch this podcast. I love you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
As we button up another episode of It's Got Pockets, remember that just like that perfect dress with hidden storage, you've got pockets of potential. You can be exactly who you are meant to be with no one getting in your way, not even yourself. Just remember, you're not done yet. That plan B or plan C might be waiting for you. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to work with me, or simply want to connect, come and find me at sarahknightconsultancy.co.uk. On Instagram, I'm Ministry of Midlife, or on LinkedIn, you'll find me as Nighty S. See you next time.